SpaceX Starship has a lot more purposes and discipline that it can do, apart from its known single launch to Mars. It could have a double tethered launch so that it can create artificial gravity. Apart from that, Elon Musk has also revealed a lot about what to do with a stainless steel spacecraft, including that of making its body a telescope. In a recent tweet, Musk revealed something rather odd with the SpaceX Starship's purpose, as its body was initially proposed to clients to make it a telescope which could stay extensively in space. The CEO said that he initially discussed it with Saul Perlmutter, who was on board the idea of turning it into something like the Hubble. Moreover, Musk said that the Starship transformed telescope can function 10 times better than what the Hubble outputs now. The initial question of the user Musk replied to was referring to turning Starship as a spacecraft probe, and not just a vessel to bring humans closer to Mars on its future missions. While the Starship has already had a successful landing with the SN-15 prototype, and it would be the same one that would be put atop the Super Heavy booster for its full-stack flight this July. What this means is that it would go further on to future missions, especially for its ultimate goal of heading to Mars, which is what it was built for. However, in his latest batch of tweets, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk says the company is already thinking about the many potential ways its next-generation Starship launch vehicle could be used in space. So what Elon Musk's SpaceX is planning to build for future missions? Well, if you want to know the answer, then fasten your seatbelt because this video will give you an amazing ride. But before starting this fantastic video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. So let's get started. In the recent series of tweets that the SpaceX CEO answered earlier today, Musk addressed a lot of insightful and interesting topics, which gives more information about the stainless steel spacecraft. The CEO at Elon Musk answered a query by a fan who asked about the possibility of tethering another Starship to a launch to create artificial gravity. Here, Musk responded yes, suggesting that it may be a plan of the company, and it might happen soon when the Starship is clear for its missions after the series of tests. The idea was inspired in part by science fiction. Depending on how realistic a franchise is trying to be, starships will either generate their own gravity using some special device or through rotating sections. While the former concept is much like the hyperdrive, which uses physics that are neither totally fictitious or theoretical at this point, the latter is something that is entirely feasible. The concept goes back to over a century, with the first recorded example provided by Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, 1857 to 1935, one of the founding fathers of rocketry in aeronautics. In 1903, he published a study titled Investigation of Outer Space Rocket Devices, where he suggested using rotational force to create artificial gravity in space. Already, ideas publicly touted by the SpaceX CEO range from using cargo starships to clean up space debris with its mouth-like payload bay to a stripped-down, expendable variant of the rocket to rapidly send massive spacecraft throughout the solar system. Now, Musk says that SpaceX has also considered tethering starships together in space to create a form of artificial gravity for passengers on multi-month journeys between planets, as well as the possibility of turning entire starships into all-in-one orbital observatories a magnitude more powerful than Hubble. The gravity-linked Starship, or GLS, is basically a hub ship, like the hub of a wheel, where the payload bay is filled with a truss that unfold and deploy robotically, thus serving as the wheel's spokes. It would be positioned between two passenger starships and would link up with them during the 6+ month-long journey to Mars. Once linked up, the passenger ships would swivel around to reorient themselves and fire their thrusters to impart momentum to the wheel. Once enough velocity was generated to simulate Earth normal gravity, the passenger ships would reorient themselves again to face inwards towards the hub ship. For the remainder of the journey, those aboard the passenger ships would experience the sensation of being pulled down, thanks to the centripetal force created by the rotation of the wheel. The gravity-linked Starship concept provides a spin gravity that reuses the main engines, taps leftover fuel, and avoids impractical space construction and spacewalks. The GLS is basically a hub ship, like the hub of a wheel. Instead of humans and cargo, the payload bay of the GLS is filled with truss that can robotically fold out and lock into place, serving as the wheel's spokes. Apparently, invoked during discussions with astrophysicist and Nobel laureate Saul Perlmutter, At least parts of the physics community are already considering the possibilities offered by using Starship as a sort of foundation or a spacecraft bus that could carry and operate vast scientific payloads. While Starship has already been officially floated several times as a serious contender for launch services for major future missions, this concept would instead see Starship function as the spacecraft itself. As of 2021, Starship has yet to reach space or orbit once, but SpaceX isn't far from that milestone. Eventually, perhaps just a few years from now, Starship will have successfully launched to and operated in orbit dozens or even hundreds of times and become a mature and reliable spacecraft. At that point, it wouldn't be out of the question to entrust starships themselves to serve as long-lasting scientific spacecraft, exploiting a bus that could offer abundant power, propulsion, thermal management, navigation, and communications capabilities to any hosted payloads. That includes extensively modifying starships on the ground to create vast space observatories, among numerous other possibilities. Given Starship's low production cost, 9-meter diameter, and nominal ability to deliver at least 100 metric tons of payload to low Earth orbit, it's not inconceivable that ships could be outfitted with massive telescopes and scientific instruments. Perhaps more importantly, drastically reduced payload constraints could allow major innovation in spacecraft or instrument design, radically lowering costs while still improving reliability, redundancy, and performance. Meanwhile, Musk says that SpaceX is also considered tethering crewed Starship together and spinning them around the center of that tether to create artificial gravity for crew members on months-long journeys between Earth, Mars, and other planets. Among fan communities, the tethered gravity concept has been circulating ever since SpaceX first announced Starship in 2016. Loosely researched by NASA and other institutions for decades, no real experimental efforts, save for a single halting test during a 1960s Gemini mission, have ever been pursued. For Starship, orbital refueling could easily allow SpaceX to cut crewed Earth-Mars transit time to 100 days or less, subjecting astronauts to significantly less time in microgravity than those that crew the International Space Station. The value proposition of artificial gravity on 3-month cruises is likely substantially less clear-cut given the far-reaching complexity and modifications required to make such a system functional and make starships compatible. What the tethered spacecraft and launch would contribute is to create an artificial gravity that would help in stabilizing the Starship en route to Mars, making way for a more successful trip. Regardless, Musk rather cryptically says that SpaceX has considered the concept, though he didn't elaborate on whether the company ultimately decided to drop the subject or pursue it further. Well, with this, we wrap up our amazing video. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and we'll be happy to hear from you. Also, if you found this video interesting, then don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.